I said, I learned, and I go back to Washington, D.C. when I was first starting. I was doing all these things, and I did my first show by myself at this place that was called The Source. It was a restaurant. It was like a hippie restaurant. And you know the place I did in Washington? Right off DuPont Circle, right? So upstairs they had this performance place, and they did open mic, singer-songwriter type things. And I was up there performing once in a while. And so the woman said one time, why don't you do a comedy night? Why don't we do a comedy night? She was probably just trying to get me out of the musician open mic nights. You know, so if you just force me off to the side to do my own thing. So they produced this whole thing, and I did this comedy night, which you know, again, I had probably 20 minutes material, which I expanded to 23, 24 minutes. But I had these other friends come and perform with me, and it went great. And this guy saw us there. He was a former hippie who is now a K Street consultant. You know, he was somebody who worked with the government now, and he was a real three-piece kind of guy. And my girlfriend at the time knew him. She goes, "Oh, he's a great guy, great." He said, "Listen, I want you to come out. We're having this weekend in West Virginia. I want you to come on out and hang out." Just what he said, just hang out, be a fun weekend, and come out to my place up in here. Big retreat in West Virginia in the mountains, a beautiful place. So we got there, and it was a nudist weekend, which I didn't know till we got there. Now, I was never overconfident in that area, so I wasn't really crazy about that. But everybody was going nudist, so there were lots of lubricants. So, okay, I'm drunk, I'm naked. Okay, it's all right, drunk, naked, you know, it's all right. So I was okay. So we're hanging out. So there was a show one night. They start doing a show. It's just a bunch of mosquito candles, you know, burners around, and these bluegrass band is playing, which is, it's bizarre, a naked bluegrass band, you know. The only guy that really felt like he was swinging was the guy with the bass between his legs. He was covered, but everybody else was hanging off their seats. It was really, you know, it was a, you know what I mean? And we're sitting there watching, and everybody's just, it's just kind of weird mix between like straight K Street people and the hippies. You know, the hippies were there to provide sort of like, I don't know, what it was a really weird mix between saltwater and freshwater people. But there were a lot of, you know, a lot of chemicals that make this brackish thing work. And so I'm sitting there watching, and a friend of mine, they were these puppeteers. They used to work with Jim Henson, and they were these puppeteers. So I'm sitting there watching, and one of the guys comes up to me and says, "You're on after us." I'm like, "What do you mean I'm on?" He says, "Yeah, you're going to perform." I said, "No, I'm not going to perform." He says, "Oh, you got to sing for your supper." I go, "What? I never heard sing for your supper." He says, "Oh, man, don't you know that's a showbiz thing?" I said, "I'm not in showbiz, man. I'm just a comedian." He said, "Oh, you're going to sing for your supper tonight." And so I did, you know. And I'm telling you, literally the shortest set I've ever done was that night, naked in front of all these people. And I had the advantage, I was just only lit by the candles, but, you know, I found out something. Clothes are really necessary for comedy. They really, you know, they really help comedy. I'm just telling you.